Duarte, and I am the Vice President of the Paraguayan Student Association. Firstly, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the many lands from where we are all gathered today and pay our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. I would like to introduce now the host and interviewer of the night, Sara Bracho. Sara is an agricultural engineer and she graduated last year from the Master of Development Studies at the University of Melbourne. Currently, she is a member of the Directive Council of the Paraguayan Network for Sustainable Cities, where she's leading a project for advocacy in urban politics. Hello, Sara.
Hello, Maria. Thank you so much. Firstly, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of participants are watching us today. And thank you everyone for joining to the second day of Paraguay Speaks. And I want to thank you to the Paraguayan Student Association for this invitation. And I'm really happy today, because space with with my colleague, because she's studying the Master of Development Studies that I studied last year. And she's a woman and she's Paraguayan. Before telling more about her, I want to share some information with the participants. We are going live through Facebook to a fan page, and this video is being recorded, so you can watch the video anytime you want it from the fan page and also from the YouTube channel. And this webinar consists in and then we will have 20 minutes for question and answers. So if you want to make any questions, if you are watching us from Zoom, you can use the Q&A button, it's downside. And if you are watching us from Facebook, please feel free to leave any comment or any questions you have in the comment sections. And also you can leave any questions in the Twitter using the hashtag Paraguay Speaks. And yes, that's it. So now I would like to introduce our speaker of tonight, Lorena Rios. Lorena Rios is an emergency social entrepreneur from Villa del Rosario, Paraguay. She led many initiatives with community leaders geared towards an integral approach to multidimensional poverty. She has more than 9 years of professional experience in the area of sustainable business development and development project management, with focus on social, environmental, cultural, and economic issues in Latin America. And she worked in institutions such as the IDB, the Office of the First Lady of Paraguay, the Presidential Deliberate Unit, and the telecom company Personal. She's also part of the Paraguay National Development Strategic Team, and the IDLP alumni, Global Shaper Community alumni, and OYW ambassador. And now she's studying the Master of Development Studies at the University of Melbourne. Welcome, Lorena.
Thank you, Sara, for the great introduction, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night for people who are joining us today. I'm very thankful for this opportunity. And before we start, I want to say Ba'ei Shapa in Guarani. So because today we want to talking about our indigenous. So we are very proud for our language. So today I want to say as well Hega, because Hega is hello, hola in Tobacom. So now I want to share with you my presentation.
Lorena, please don't forget to turn on your mic. It's off.
Sorry everyone for this interruption, but technical issues always we have. So today I wanna first, explain about the indigenous population in Paraguay. So I wanna share with you some questions. No. Yo voy a empezar, no me da. Las preguntas, lo que no me sale. Ahí está, ahí está. Okay. I don't know if you can see there some question.
Yes,
If you can answer, I will really appreciate. Great. So you can see as we have people from Australia and Paraguay and other countries. So I'm very thankful for these people for this time. So now I want to show you a very short video with you. Great. So this is just to give you an overview of the community, where they are. And also I wanted to explain today about the first indigenous community hub, with, especially with these indigenous people. The nation is Con. So as you know, they are living in Villa del Rosario, San Pedro. and a very remote communities with many things that they are needed now. So today, just I want to introduce this a small town, and they are living in a like 300 kilometers from Asunción. So this project was born in 2012. I started working with this community as a volunteer. We start working with young people, children, and also empower women and all the community through productive activities, and also to show the capacity, the talent as they are used to do. The direct beneficiaries of this project are around 350 people who are living in the community, and so this program, especially the first indigenous community, we started in 2018 when we saw some application online about the Australian aid called Direct Aid Program. So we are very thankful for the opportunity to Australian government for give us the opportunity to apply, and also to give these people the first indigenous community where they can make a lot of things, training, education, and also teach the culture, the language, and also share the arts with all the community, and also show the style of living there. So I want to focus especially what are or where the challenges and also the opportunities. So this project particularly was very unique because as you know, or many you heard, if you are working in development, every single indigenous community are unique. So they have different traditions, culture, and also how they live in their community. So before you start a project with them, it's very important to have the first conversation. So as you see or you watch in this video, and this is short video that we make before, we organize the community as we make like a social dialogue we call terere yere. And terere, is our traditional drink, and we used to drink before the COVID-19 with all together. So we share that, and we create a lot of great things. So we make this, we use this methodology to empower this community and to listen this community. So just before we start one project, we must do that, because I can see how, like after all this process, you can realize how powerful it is to have the bottom up. So you have first the voice of people who are in the community and people who know what they need and also what we can do with them. So when we apply for these grants coming from Australian government, we really think that, okay, the grant is for infrastructure, but this infrastructure always is the same infrastructure that we know already. But when you work with indigenous community, anything is the same. So everything that you want to do have to be unique, because if we just make something that is for everyone the same, sometimes they don't appreciate. So from this experience building, we did from the scratch. So I want to say thank you to the Oka firm, was the architecture, who we worked like with Luis, who was the architect. We worked very hard because he needs to go frequently to the community, which is far from the city. And also he needs to identify people who can do the work. And so after the social dialogue, we identify a lot of talent in the community. So we train them. For example, someone never built some house. So through this project, we have a lot of benefits for them. Also, we give them the opportunity to work as an employee of the architecture firm. And so they can have a little money. And other things that I want to point out today is we identify a lot of capacity and also talent in the community. Hairdresser, people who work in electricity, with plumbing and with woods. So a lot of things that before we didn't know that they are there. So so they learn how to make bricks from the scratch. So they use their own land to make the bricks. So after that, you heard about, and you will hear about the experience. They said that they will do now their bathroom, or they can construct another house, etc. They can improve the housing. So after as I said before, the social dialogue, we identify many issues that we have, that the community have. And after that, we prioritize these needs. And as we visit all the families who are living there, and also we try to identify the common ones. And so as I show here, they have a lot of challenges as well. And these challenges they don't have, for example, very close healthcare center. They need to go like 15 kilometers or 20 kilometers to the primary health care. And there are like 350 persons living there. Then they have lack of the digital access. For example, today, I know they're using their mobile phone to watch us. And so I'm very happy for that. And also we try to, from this project, we try to train them in terms of IT and also all the, how to say, entrepreneurship. So many women are learning how they can open new business, they can sell food, they can sell the arts that they produce, the handicraft, and also now they are like improving their housing. Some of them call me and say, we are doing that, or they are working and with other people in terms of building. So what we learned from this project is like around 25 indigenous people receive a technical certificate of motorcycle mechanic. So thank you for this opportunity to Chacomer, the company which joined us and say we want to support them. Because how we arrived with this company was because during the social dialogue, we identified that now Indigenous use the motorbike to transport. So they used to go from the community to other cities using the motorcycle, but they don't know how they can maintain after if they broken or something. So when we did this conversation with the community, was the common one. Like they want to learn how they can restore, and also how they can open a small motorcycle company. And then we have around 30 indigenous people that was employed as a constructor. And we have around 40 artisans that participate for the first cultural exhibition in their own community. So they can't believe when we made the first exhibitions. They say, oh, we always traveled many kilometers to show our handicraft or our arts, and we didn't know that we can do in our community. So with this project, we really wanna empower more, and also invite people to visit them and see how they are like living with this amazing nature, and also offering a lot of natural things that you can use now and caring more about the environment. So here you can see the photo of with the first bricks that we built, and also was the first time that Indigenous see the layout or architecture of the house. So they can realize like, oh, this will be our first community center. And here you can see all the products that they used to sell, the artisans. And now I wanna talking about the Australian aid. As I start in the beginning of this conversation, how crucial and fundamental is for developing countries, and especially for very rural communities that sometimes they don't have access to the information, and or sometimes people just use them as oh, we want to do something, but after the community don't have the feedback of people or companies that go into the community and do the project, and also sometimes they didn't ask them how they can be involved. So through this program, we are very proud because we have the opportunity to show as using the participatory approach can be very important, and you can have a lot of very good results. So this Australian aid will be not possible without the support of the CIRC Foundation, which is the principal NGO who we work with, and was administrate all the program and put all the people to work with us, and we can succeed and also implement very well this program, as they have a lot of experience working with Indigenous and also in development intervention in many rural areas. So thank you for this great support to Australian aid for the grant, and also for the implementation to the CIRC Foundation. And also I want to point out about the importance of the innovation nowadays in terms of development. So I think the power that we have is the voice of people who are living in the community. And I always use this as an example. For example, when we want a house and someone just bring you a house, sometimes you are not appreciate that because you want to be in the process of this building or in this design. So just I want to say for many people who are listening to us today, that it's very important the community voice in every development intervention. And especially for Indigenous community, because they have a lot of good ideas, and just we need to listen to them. So through this project, we can say that the anthropologist's work is very, very important. And I want to say thank you to Mito Ceguera, who really helped us to get all these great points and how we intervene with Indigenous community. So now I don't want to talk because I know the protagonists of this project, so I want you to listen then and also learn about their stories.
Por el pueblo cónico, oye, dedicar solamente en la caza y pesca y marisca y esa de un apoyo estancias cayo arique. Un día la de origen a llevar pero ya ni me diré con Rosario ya hoy más algunos agricultores ya o practican más la si la artesanía pues ahí en la hora principal la hora trabajo allí
mai poquillete un guare o ante hoy orero pasa o más ternero que la hora de familia pues a veces la se ingresa ahí la se hogar o a veces vamos a estudiar o a veces se va a estudiar para morder de todo la mitad va mira con la silla y cuando va a hacer la artesana yo ya como y esas llamas y pues peadorero yo cuaderno o ua y zapatilla no o putuema y porque está ahí la ganancia pero peadorero lo mantiene pues ahora es familia Roy purula caranda Roy puru doctora Roy puru piri y lo ya por bolsón cinta de todo le corta a la doctora tu canasto bolsones sombrero un aire o la rocha por la hora artesanía.
Esperamos que con esto, con la Casa de la Cultura, la gente pueda
la proyecto otro digo no. Está ahí a llevar a la comunidad de ella por eso entonces a pe consulta o pide lo mismo a te va a ir por una entonces oye consulta jugar ellos entonces a pero lo voy a jugar entonces y pone interior papá
nunca orendo hasta mente lo ya pocas años de la construcción
Ellos también aprendieron de parte de la firma arquitecta OCA a elaborar ladrillos ecológicos.
Ya nos dijeron que acá la gente de la zona nos iban a conseguir la materia prima fundamental que es el carandaí para hacer toda la estructura del galpón y que iban a estar fabricando los ladrillos también de tierra aquí de la zona.
Vamos a poner 8 horas. A los yapos 500 ladrillos. Primero, vamos a poner un vieja. El segundo que tú ya estás bien, porque ya ahora iba aquí a no me acuerdo nada. ¿Qué volea?
O sea, su casa generalmente está hecha de madera y de paja. Hoy le estamos dando a ellos una oportunidad de construir sus propias viviendas con materiales, digamos, casi 100% ecológicos, utilizando el carandaí que está en la zona y los ladrillos ecológicos que pudieron y que aprendieron a elaborar. Creo que lo más interesante de todo este proyecto fue la construcción participativa, en donde cada uno de los compueblanos, miembros de esta comunidad, fueron los propios constructores de este centro que está atrás.
Acá había un montón de mano de obra que está disponible. La cuestión era conciliar todo eso Entonces es como si fuera que tenés que sacarle la información a uno, de uno, y ganar la confianza, y después recién uno va sabiendo que este sabe hacer esto, el otro sabe hacer lo otro, y que aquí hay gente que ya trabajó en obras, que ya trabajó en construcciones civiles, hay gente que trabajó en el campo, con madera, con carandaú, hay motosierristas, hay electricistas, plomeros. Esas experiencias de ellos nosotros acá lo estamos utilizando realmente.
Gracias a muchas empresas que nos apoyaron a través del proyecto.
Por lo menos bajo conocimiento y para de ainda ya aprovechamos ahí a otros y ya ni grupana ya por la pedido antes está hoy la idea, entonces hoy pedimos motivación.
Luego más educación, desarrollo, hoy a ver ahora el lugar, el puente de trabajo. Porque ahora va a poseer no CCM, o caber o no los CCM, la estancia a ver un vapo. Capaz de ahora el lugar, hoy en día, puente de trabajo y a todo eso, oye, pega o pibe y a todo eso, ahora, no sea adelante de allá.
Esperamos que este centro sea un espacio de encuentro, de compartir la cultura, de capacitarse, y así ellos puedan figurar en el mapa con la cultura, con su trabajo, con sus valores, que tanto tenemos que aprender de ellos. Hay que generar las condiciones, pero hay que enseñarles a utilizar lo que hoy va a ser provechoso para ellos, y así también adquirir lo que ellos tienen que mostrarnos a nosotros.
Ya yo allá yo pues no allá después ella ya como la agua pues.
Usa ayuda a ujina oreja lo a peare. Desarrollo ka outa orejina.
Orero ala Australia ore pues a Chicatú o sea más acá ore Chamija o ore Sevita. Torga ave allí escuela.
Ahí se ve. Ahí está. We are watching listen the stories of this community, and always when I listen again and I listen and I watch again, make me feel very proud of this community, because they give me the opportunity to arrive and also to build what things that they really want, because this was the dream of them from 2012. And after 7 years, we got, and so we are very thankful for this opportunity. So today, I want to say thank you for everyone, for all the volunteers who support us and also who give us the opportunity to do something for these people. And now I'm very open to get any questions if you have instead of this conversation. And yeah, and after as well, you can give me the opportunity to share more information. We have a book where we explain about all the construction, how was the process, and also how we intervene this project.
Well, thank you so much, Lorena, for your presentation, and congratulations in leading this project and all the efforts and what you have accomplished during all these years. It started from 2012, and now they have this community center working. We can see that there is a big effort behind it, and there are some people here that are that want to know where exactly is located. So and
yeah. Okay.
Well, yes.
Okay, so these community are in Villa del Rosario, San Pedro. So it's around 30 kilometers of Asunción, the capital city of Paraguay. And they are approximately 66 families, which is divided into communities, one called Palma and another Boquerón. So in one community there are 46 families, and in the other there are like 24 families.
Yes, I just look on Google Maps and just Google Villa del Rosario, Paraguay, and there is not located the community center, but there is the health center, but I think it's closest to the river, right?
Yeah, this community are specifically in the very close to one colony called Volendam, is a German colony, and 15 kilometers of Rosario, the downtown of Villa del Rosario, and they are the border is with the river Paraguay River, and also a lake called Guarepoti, and I can show you a little bit. I can show you where is that. So this is the community. Let me just share with you. You can see? Now you can see or not?
I can't see it.
You can see it there?
Yes.
Yes, you can see.
Great. So here you can see there. Here's the community called Palma. And here you can find the German colony, and also this is the Paraguay River. And this is the downtown of Villa del Rosario.
Okay, great. Well, here I have another question. Well, it's about the perspective that despite your best effort to provide aid and assistance, you are exposing a westernized view life of these people. What do you think about the mixed culture, to balancing the different cultures, the Western culture and the indigenous culture?
Yeah, for example, one of the, I can say one of the different of this community is like, we always think that indigenous are poor, and because we didn't have the opportunity to live with them and to see how they describe poverty. So I think the difference between us is like, sometimes we think that from our needs, we think that the things that we wanna do, this is the best option. So when we start working with indigenous population, you identify the culture is the culture of abundance, they want to share. They can, for example, they can not have enough economic resources, like in terms of money, but they have the nature and they have this belief. And I think this is the most interesting things that they have, but sometimes we didn't realize, or we didn't appreciate that, or we didn't identify.
Yeah. Well, there is another question that is linked to this from Mateo. He says that he's a photographer working from a remote indigenous community in Peru, Nepal, and New Zealand. Well, that's interesting. So he wants to know, what do you think are the challenges to these communities coming from the modern industry and a globalized market? So what do you think, like what kind of employment opportunities will generally be available in these communities? How about their environment? Is it threatened in some way? Is there any jeopardizing way over there? What do you think about this?
For example, one of the key issues that the I can see community leader said to us is like, he's scary about globalization. Because before they said that we used to live like all the land was us. And now everyone, we have like a small, quarter of land, and we can go to another land to pick some orange or some food, because if we go, we are doing like, we are stealing that. We are robber, right? And so they said that someone, for example, dance one, I don't know, music from dancing song from, I don't know, Brazil or other country, and they say, oh wow, she knows how she dance. And then when some indigenous dance their own dance, they say, oh, why she's dancing that? Because sometimes they're embarrassing for them to, to show this own culture. So the community leader said that they wanna, they don't want to lose the culture, and also the style of life, how they are living.
Yes, I am seeing like this, like a challenge. Sorry,
yeah,
continue, please.
And in terms of the productive opportunities, our vision, I say our vision because now I'm the voice of them, and also like always we talk about it. How do you drain your community? How do you see your community in the future? And most of the young people and also elders said that we always want our safe community, and we want to like share with people, like for example, they want to develop the tourism, so you can go in the community and have their own experience, seeing how they bring, for example, the raw materials to do the handicraft, and also to go for fishing, and also to teach them how they used to live instead of that. And nowadays with the globalization, they said we want to with our own motorbike company. We really want one healthcare in our community, because imagine it, they used to have babies just in the nature. So some of them are practicing, are study. They want to like more people educated, and they try to teach the young people, hey, go to the school, finish your school. And even these always said this very precarious life, they have this dream, and just we need to identify, and we need to listen them, and we need to support them, and not just prejudice. We always make a lot of prejudice about the things, how they live, and we don't care about the story behind.
Yes, this is what I was thinking. Because I have seen that there are many things like related to the handicraft they made. And I see that there is a growing interest in the communities here in Asunción and the surroundings about the, I mean, there is an increasing value of the artisan made by indigenous, but it's also like there is a, I don't know, like a sense of superiority from people of all societies when comparing to the indigenous, and it doesn't have to be in this way. I think um, there is a big challenge in the dynamics between the indigenous societies and contemporary societies here, where it should be like an exchange of knowledge. So it's not like, okay, it's good for them to adapt to our societies because globalization and is a way for them to live better, right? But also we have a lot to learn from them. There is a very rich culture, and I think, what do you think are the challenges related to our societies to getting interested in their richness, in their culture, and like to overcome this sense of superiority regarding indigenous communities? What I mean, how do you see that in the societies in Asunción or Great Asunción or in the other parts you were?
First of all, I think, for example, indigenous people are very smart, and we overestimate most of the time to these people. We marginalize these people. And when you start having with them, you know, a relationship as a, not as an indigenous, as normal people, as very similar to you. And when you start sharing values and listen carefully about how they are, I think you can understand a lot of things. And the difference between I don't know, indigenous and not indigenous is sometimes I think the not indigenous, we are ignorant because we think like our truth is just our truth, and we are not listen to these people, because just from my experience working with them, I always get surprised and get very inspired. And also, as one of the indigenous, for example, he can speak German, he can speak Guarani, he can speak Con, he can speak Portuguese, and also some of them, they can know some words in English. So when you say that, hey, that's amazing. So, and always say like, depend on every single person, how they wanna proceed, and also they wanna improve their condition. In the community, for example, we find a lot of who are entrepreneurs, like they learn, they develop a small, how do you call it, a small businesses, and they sell, for example, food, they sell like all the groceries in their own community. And this is just was the initiative of them. And I think the influence of German people very close to the community is very important. So because they learn like you need to do, like, you need to be hardworking, and that. So when I said the difference, sometimes I think I'm really scary sometimes. Because if you go to the country and you see how people live in terms of this environment of responsibility, care each other, and also sharing everything, food and company, and also religions. So for example, they used to just they don't work on Saturday because they need to go to the church, and they believe that they need to give time to God for a day, like all the Saturday.
Okay, great. So we are running out of time, so we have time for two more questions. I'm going to link two questions that I have here. Ana Barreiro wants to know, how was TOBA selected for the project? There are many indigenous communities in Paraguay. How did you make this selection? And also, maybe you can also answer this, like, what about in dealing with local Guarani communities?
Could you repeat again, because I didn't hear you very well?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, so how was it for you to select Covacuam communities? There are many indigenous communities, so how did you end up by selecting Covacuam community? And what advice do you have for foreign investors in dealing with local communities, with Guarani communities?
Right. So this community was selected because I'm from Villa del Rosario, and I always have a dream to see how I can help this community, because I started working with them in 2012, and then I traveled to Australia for the first time in 2018. And I was very inspired how some indigenous or Australian government have a lot of indigenous companies or who are working with them. And I didn't see that much in Paraguay. So I was very interested, and I started like research about the topic. And I found that Australian government are helping to develop for developing countries, especially for indigenous community. So when I discovered that, I was in touch with the company, with the Surf Foundation, and we started design the project. But we designed the project with this indigenous community, so they are part of the process. So they know that we wanna our first community have, because we wanna have the space to develop like productive activities in terms of training, learn how we can cook, and also we have a space where we can have our cultural session in terms of dancing and music.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a bit more of how did you find this opportunity of funding from the DFA? Like, did you have already the project, or did you make the project? When did you find this opportunity? Because I think it's a big project and it's looking for some funding opportunities. So what advice do you have for? Can you tell us a bit more about your experience, and what advice do you have to those to those who have a project and is looking for funding in Australia?
Great. I think Australia is one of very good partner of in terms of development aid. And for example, from my experience, I always working in terms of how I can help people, because from my experience, personal experience, I think sometimes when you live in the country, you don't have the sources of information to do something, because sometimes just you find information in I don't know in a very few web page or in a website. So from my experience, when I came here in 2018, I saw the opportunity who posted in the Australian embassy. So then I look up all the criteria and I say, oh, I think this is a great opportunity to do something with this community, because we already are doing, but without any financial. So we try to identify how much we will need, and also how we can get this funding. And we start working with the CERT Foundation. So we developed, like, I have experience working in designing projects. So was quite easy to grab. But I think the most important thing was, like, we have all the how to say, knowledge of the community, and also we talk to them before we apply for the funding, so they already know that 50% can we have granted this grant or not. But this was our dream as a community.
Great. I think we have time for So there is another question here, like, how do you compare the situation of the Guaraníes with the one of Aboriginal people in Australia? Do you find any similarities in the way the government and the non-Indigenous deal with Indigenous culture?
Yeah.
What do you think about the Australia government supporting Indigenous community in Paraguay? Like, what do you think about the Australia government supporting projects, Indigenous projects in Paraguay?
I think I saw many difference. Like I don't know. Before I start, we have 19th tribe in Paraguay, coming from 5 indigenous nation of families. And here you have more than, I think, 200 tribes in Australia. So the difference between both, I think, is the behavior. I think most of our indigenous in Paraguay, they are quite friendly, and also they are living very remote areas, and they don't have a lot of issues, like in terms of alcoholic, drugs, and everything. And I think this is the difference. Sometimes here there are, I think, more violent some of communities, because I think it's a big city, and also you have the the globalization, and I think this is quite a different. But I think the potential that we have as indigenous community around the world, and seeing all the things that are happening in terms of COVID-19, and I think we have a lot of potential to learn from them, to survive, and also to have a more sustainable life in terms of that. So I think both communities, Paraguay, Australia, and all indigenous around the world, have the powerful tools to teach us. And I think it's the time to take care about indigenous population around the world, and also try to exchange knowledge in terms of indigenous. Because, for example, in Australia, they use a lot of natural herbs as well as our indigenous in Paraguay. So I always say you have different kind of indigenous, different kind of behaviors, different kind of talents in terms of, but I think most of indigenous community, they are our owners of the land, and they have a lot of things to teach us. And I think it's the time now, with all these things that happen around the world, and they can show us how we can live better, and also use the knowledge to survive.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we are running out of time, and the questions questions, but there are no time to answer all of them, but the speaker is going to answer in due time. And thank you so much, Lorena, for sharing this with inspiring, and congratulations again for your efforts and for all that you have achieved with your leadership. Well, and well, thank you so much for watching this webinar. I'm going to leave the mic to Maria for closing the webinar.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Laura, for this lovely talk. And we hope to see you again tomorrow for the day 3 of this conference. And I don't know. Have a lovely day in Australia and a good night in Paraguay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So much. Bye.
And